come on a little closer. So we're going to really quick do this eye here. You've set it up well. You have the pins in space. Whenever you go to one feature, you're not going right to the the eyeball. You're surrounding it. You're looking for the structure around the eye, and then what you're doing is almost working your way in. So the first thing we're going to do is just see where that region is. The region is, in a lot of ways, all the way around the orbital bone, down through the cheekbone or the zygomatics, back up the side, to the side of the nose, or the nose region. And there's muscle forms that are coming down here. So one of the things that we're noticing is that right along through here, your brow is much softer than what you have here, right? I know that you might be putting an expression in there with more of a snarly expression, but then when you come down here, all this is softer and smoother and longer like this, okay? So it's all gonna feel, now that is setting up this whole region, and you're putting it nice and deep into space, which looks fairly accurate, but then we're gonna bring up the cheekbone here, along this line through here. So there's the cheekbone, and then it somewhat separates here into this area. We have then really the break and form along here, it's maybe a little bit higher for the brow itself, and then down over through here, maybe. And I'm really just eyeballing this according to where you have the top of your nose and the bottom of your nose. And so I'm using my eye to guesstimate. Maybe later on we'll do some measurements to make sure the placement. But this is the way you would attack an eye or start to develop it, is to kind of get that placement. And then what I like to do, and I know that a lot of people don't do this, is that I want to start with mass or a convex mass for the ball. So I don't want to see a vacancy, and then build it up. It's just the way I like to see things. But I know that a lot of people will teach it so that you have that orbital cavity and then place the sphere inside. So maybe another day I'll talk about that. But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm just really trying to get the shape. So the several shapes that you're dealing with is the brow, which is broken up into two forms. The first form is this teardrop form that's here, that kind of coming up and over like this, and then a teardrop form here, which is this convex fleshy or fatty mass above the eye, which is both fleshy as well as bone, right? So you have your orbital bone that's inside there, that's on top, right? I may be exaggerating a little bit, but I'm going to bring it up. And again, it's up here, right? And then it comes down. I'm going to turn it a little bit and just look at you. So one of the things you did nicely was get the projection into space. A lot of people will not get that projection deep. Because, if you don't look at your profiles, very often you'll flatten all that surface. I need some working clay. Perfect, thank you. So we have that teardrop form, and again, it's very subtle the way it's modeled here or on your face. So in this case, you might need to exaggerate it to get the hair for the eyebrow, right? The facial hair here, right? So then, and then of course this fatty mass is here, coming up and over. I'm gonna like that, and it's maybe a little deeper than that on the side. I also think we need to add a little mass up here for the cranium, skull here, and then in here underneath the brow is governed by that sphere. Now the sphere is all in through here. You can imagine it projected into the bony mass around like that, right? So all of this area is governed by that spherical form. And then on top of that spherical form is the eye. You know, notice that I'm putting this line in, which is the line underneath of that brow, and I'm almost putting my tool in and pressing up, right? To get that, and then maybe even on the side, I'm pushing it in, okay? Same thing here. I'm gonna take away a little bit of clay there, take away a little bit of clay there. And you can see that what I've done is I've developed that spherical form just by adding some clay and then starting to round it over. And then on top of that, we can start to draw in the eyelid, right? Here's the eyelid. It tends to come steeply upward on the inside, and then bend over, and then more gently coming down to the corner of the eye. And then we can draw on the bottom lid. In this case, it's maybe right in through here, and then down. It tends to droop a little bit on the side, so it comes in gently, and then it turns more aggressively upward towards the outside of the eye. Then what I can do is two things. One is I could shave off a little bit of the ball itself, right? I could press in a little bit. I could use a little pressing process to start develop that. I think I might need a tool to actually get some of that clay out, but what I can then do is add a little bit of clay and follow that line. So I'm going to take a little bit of clay here, I'm going to wad it up like this, and then just place it into space like that, and then of course what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it in. Okay? And of course everything at this level is fussing, right? I always say that. You have to fuss with that. You can't just expect to do it all at once. But these are the forms that you have to be aware of. And then you play with them. You're pushing them in and out, that sort of thing. Usually the lower lid is a little less prominent, but sometimes it might hang down a little bit more. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in a little bit of that. Come in like this. There. Do you have a little loop tool? This is it. This is what I want. I can use this to just kind of remove some of that clay because it's feeling a little bit too much. And the same thing in here. Very often you'll see, now sometimes you might find illustrations of eyes, and you'll see this little, the little kind of loop in here to the eye. You could add that detail. That is, but you guys will be extending into expressions with these, so you might want to wait to do any of that until you develop an expression. You want to get some of the general forms out of the way before you start getting into the minor detail. Okay? So you come out, and then there's, again, this more of this lower lid, bottom of the orbital right in there. This is more cheekbone, right? And that's pretty much it. Does that make sense? And again, this is from life, so I'm trying to get a likeness, but usually what you do, if you do one side, what you're going to want to do is you do both sides at the same time. Try not to do one and then the other. Of course, when I'm demoing, it makes sense for me to just do one, just to keep it going. But in this case, really, it's only those forms: 1, 2, 3, right? 4, 5, and then 6. That's it. Everything else is just stuff you can play with. But those are generally the forms you're going to find on any individual in various masses. So I would still add a little bit more up through here, okay, just to get it more clear. What do you guys think? Does that make sense?